Number 23 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance, pursuant to the House of Commons Order of Reference adopted on Thursday, February 10th, 2022, the committee's meeting on Bill C-8, an act to implement certain provisions of the Economic and Fiscal Update, tabled in Parliament on December 14th, 2021, and other measures. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of November 25th, 2021. Members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. The proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. So you're aware, the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. Today's meeting is also taking place in the webinar format. Webinars are for public committee meetings and are available only to members, their staff, and witnesses. Members enter immediately as active participants. All functionalities for active participants remain the same. Staff will be non-active participants and can therefore only view the meeting in gallery view. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind all participants to this meeting that screenshots or taking photos of your screen is not permitted. Given the ongoing pandemic situation and in light of the recommendations from health authorities, as well as the directive of the Board of Internal Economy on October 19, 2021, to remain healthy and safe, all those attending the meeting in person are to maintain a 2-meter physical distancing, must wear a non-medical mask when circulating in the room, and it is highly recommended that the mask be worn at all times, including when seated. Must maintain proper, proper hand hygiene by using the provided hand sanitizer at the room entrance. As the chair, I'll be enforcing these measures for the duration of the meeting and thank members in advance for their cooperation. To ensure an orderly meeting, I'd like to outline a few rules to follow. Members and witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. If interpretation is lost, please inform me immediately and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. The raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. For members participating in person, proceed as usual, as you usually would when the whole committee is meeting in person in a committee room. Keep in mind the Board of Internal Economy's guidelines for mask use and health protocols. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Those in the room, your microphone will be controlled as normal by the proceedings and verification officer. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you're not speaking, your mic should be on mute. As a reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed through the chair. At this time, we have so many witnesses, officials, members with us here to assist with this meeting. So for the meeting's consideration, and I'll just name off the departments: the Department of Employment and Social Development, the Department of Finance officials, the Department of Health officials, and the Public Health Agency of Canada officials. So thank you, officials, for joining us, for being with us here to assist. Here today, they'll help us with questions, any concerns, clause by clause of the study of the bill. We also have Jacques Maziad and Émilie Tevierge. I apologize if I mispronounce it. Legislative clerks that will be here also to assist. So on that, members, pursuant to Standing Order 75 bracket 1, consideration of clause 1 bracket short title is postponed, and the chair calls clause 2. So on clause 2, any discussion? Shall clause 2 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On dissent.
So I did not, on division, yes, on division. Thank you. Yep. Shall clause 3 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Division. Members, shall clause 4 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
On division. Shall clause 5 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On On division.
On division. Shall Clause 6 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
On division. Shall Clause 7 carry?
Avec
On division.
On division. Shall Clause 8 carry?
avec
On division.
On division. Shall Clause 9 carry?
avec
On division.
On division. So we've come to Clause 10, and Clause 10, there is an amendment from the block. And MP Saint-Marie, you have your hand up. Yes, MP Saint-Marie?
Oui, mais
Yes, thank you. So the proposal is that the tax, the 1% for unoccupied housing, may only be applied in a province with the agreement of that province. So quickly to remind you, we have Mr. Taillon, who came to tell us about two things. First, either there's reasonable doubt for the tax to be considered as a regulation by the courts, because if you look at the journals of the debates, the government proposes this tax to affect behavior, and if it's considered to be a regulation, the courts could invalidate this section because regulations are provincial jurisdiction. If it weren't the case, the constitutionalist reminded us that it would be a problematic practice under cooperative federalism. Even if Ottawa has the power to impose a tax, if it is a tax, for property tax, it's the last field that Ottawa doesn't occupy. This is municipal, which is under provinces, and school boards, which fall under provinces. And as the parliamentary budget officer told us, there's a problem here in the area of provincial funding rather than for Ottawa, based on the annually updated studies. So this could increase that problem. And there's the question of interference in tax already in place or to be put in place. If you look at Vancouver, where the city has a similar type of tax, the government of British Columbia has a similar tax. So what the amendment suggests is simply to have the agreement of the province, because cities fall under provinces, before going forward. So this would deal with future problems. So that's my argument. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Well, merci.
Thank you.
MP Saint-Marie, and now I will give my ruling. In the opinion of the chair, submitting the application of the tax to the approval of a province is a new concept that is beyond the scope of the bill and also contrary to the principle of the bill as agreed to at second reading. Therefore, I rule the amendment inadmissible.
je suis pas d'accord.
I do not agree with you, Mr. Chair. In all respect, I contest your decision.
Okay, and members, as you know, committee members, the decision of the chair is not debatable. So I look to the clerk for the vote.
The decision is, shall the decision of the question is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? So if you're in favor with the chair, you vote yes. If you are against the chair's decision, you vote no. Mr. Maloney.
Yes.
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher replacing Ms. Derwitz. Mr. Fisher? I think Mr. Fisher is saying yes.
I saw a yes. I heard a yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
With the chair.
Mr. Fast?
Support the chair.
Mr. Albus?
Support.
Mr. Stewart,
Support.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Non.
Yeas pour 9, nays contre 2.
It's upheld. The amendment is inadmissible. We are now moving up, members, to Clause 11, although I oh, sorry. Yeah. Yes, my apologies. Shall Clause 10 carry?
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Chair, so given that my amendment, the block's amendment, wasn't accepted, I will ask for a recorded division of Clause 10 to Clause 40. I'm sorry to my colleagues.
Merci, MP Sainte-Marie. So we're on shall Clause 10 carry?
comme je viens de vous dire, Monsieur le
As I said, Mr. Chair, I will ask for a recorded division for each clause until Clause 40.
Okay. Recorded division?
Recorded division on Clause 10.
10.
Mr. Baker, who is now present, and Mr. Maloney is no longer with us. Mr. Baker.
In favor?
Mr. Beach.
In favor.
Madame Châtel.
Favor.
Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher says yes. Mr. McDonald.
In favor.
Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus.
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart.
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 5, 5. Nays contre 1.
Merci, it's carried. So moving to Clause 11, shall Clause 11 carry?
Mr. Chair, you've got a couple hands up.
Oh, I did not see the hands. I apologize. MP Sainte-Marie and MP Beach.
Oui, peut-être c'est pour la même.
Perhaps it would be for the same thing. I think you'll see that there's unanimous consent to apply the result for Clause 10 for Clause 11 to 39 inclusively. Thank you.
No.
I hear a no. So we will move now to shall Clause 11 carry? On division.
Non, je demande le vote.
No, I would ask for the vote, as I said twice, Mr. Chair.
Le vote enregistré.
A recorded division.
Vote on Clause 11. Mr. Baker.
Favor?
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher, thumbs up. Yes. Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus.
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart.
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 12 carry?
Je demande le vote.
I would call for recorded division.
Clerk?
Mr. Baker.
In favor?
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher. Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
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 Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Abstain.
Mr. Fast?
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Moving to 13, shall clause 13 carry?
On division?
Je demande le vote.
Call for recorded division.
Clerk?
Mr. Baker,
En faveur.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Mr. Fisher,
En faveur.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yes. Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Point of order?
I just being virtual with regards to Monsieur Saint-Marie's ask to apply. There was a no, but I wasn't aware of who said no. Could you just clarify who that was?
Who did it come from? It came from the Conservative side.
Thank you.
Welcome. Shall clause 14 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Vote on clause 14. Mr. Baker,
En faveur.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Mr. Fisher,
In favor.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall clause 15 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Clause 15, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
That was a yes, Mr. Blakey?
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall clause 16 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Clause 16, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Mr. Fisher,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall clause 17 carry?
Je demande le
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Clause 17, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Mr. Fisher,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Okay. Carried. Shall clause 18 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 18, Mr. Baker,
En faveur.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Mr. Fisher,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 19 carry?
Je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 19, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
In favor.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Mr. Fisher.
Oui.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus.
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart.
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
contre,
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 19 carry? Oh, sorry. I apologize. Thank you. It's good to have the legislative clerk here. Help me out. So, shall Clause 20 carry?
je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 20, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
In favor.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Mr. Fisher.
In favor.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus.
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart.
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
contre,
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 21 carry?
je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clause 21, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
Favor.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Mr. Fisher.
In favor.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus.
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart.
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
non,
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 22 carry?
je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 22, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Ms. Derowitz.
Oui.
Mr. McDonald. Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus.
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart.
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
contre,
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 23 carry?
je demande le vote,
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 23, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
Oui.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Ms. Derowitz.
Oui.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
No.
Mr. Fast.
No.
Mr. Albus.
No.
Mr. Stewart.
No.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
contre,
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 5, 5.
Carried. Shall Clause 24 carry?
je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 24, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Ms. Derowitz.
Oui.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
No.
Mr. Fast.
No.
Mr. Albus.
No.
Mr. Stewart.
No.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie.
contre,
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6. Nays contre 5, 5.
Carried. Shall Clause 25 carry?
je demande le vote,
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 25, Mr. Baker.
En faveur.
Mr. Beach.
Yes.
Madame Châtel.
Oui.
Miss Derowitz.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers.
Abstain.
Mr. Fast.
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 26 carry?
Je demande le
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 26, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 27 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 27, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 28 carry?
Je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 28, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Oh, shall Clause 29 carry?
Je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 29, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Oui.
Monsieur McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
non.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 30 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 30, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Absolument.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 31 carry?
Je demande
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 31, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Now shall Clause 32 carry?
Je demande le
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 32, Mr. Baker,
En favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derwitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
non.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 33 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clerk.
Clause 33, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Ms. Derowitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Oh, abstain. Apologies.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 34 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 34, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 35 carry?
Je demande.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 35, Mr. Baker,
En faveur.
Mr. Beach,
Oui.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 36 carry?
Je demande le
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Clause 36, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 37 carry?
Je demande.
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Clause 37, Mr. Baker,
En faveur.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Non.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 38 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clerk?
Clause 38, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Oui.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 39 carry?
Je demande.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 39, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
In favor.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Shall Clause 40 carry?
Je demande le vote.
Recorded division, please.
Clause 40, Mr. Baker,
In favor.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Madame Châtel,
Oui.
Miss Derowitz,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Chambers,
Abstain.
Mr. Fast,
Abstain.
Mr. Albus,
Abstain.
Mr. Stewart,
Abstain.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie,
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Oui.
Yeas pour 6, 6, nays contre 1, 1.
Carried. Now, members, We've come to clause 40.1. There's amendment from the Conservatives, and I'm looking to MP Chambers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Hopefully we'll just get some thoughts for the committee to consider. This is an amendment to basically take a pause on purchases by foreigners, foreign buyers in the Canadian marketplace for a 2-year period. Recognizing it is not permanent, it is mostly so that we can all take a step back, try to take the wind out of the sails a little bit of this breakneck speed that we're seeing in the property market. It is, our view, a reasonable amendment to put forward at this time and gives us a little bit additional time for data and opportunities to see what's happening in the housing market. Last year, as an example, we saw a 25% increase. We do think that this won't be a silver bullet, but it will help take some of the pressure, upward pressure, out of the property market. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MP Chambers. Just for the members and to have for the record, so this is Part 2 of Bill C-8, enacts the Underused Housing Tax Act. This act implements an annual tax of 1% on the value of vacant or underused residential property directly or indirectly owned by a non-resident, non-Canadians. The amendment, CPC 1, seeks to prohibit purchases of residential properties by an individual who is neither a citizen nor a permanent resident who does not reside in Canada. This House of Commons Procedure and Practice, 3rd edition, states on page 770. So I will now give my ruling, and thank you, MP Chambers. So it's in the opinion of the chair, creating a prohibition to purchase a residential property is a new concept that is beyond the scope of the bill. Therefore, I rule the amendment inadmissible.
Chair?
MP Fast.
I'd like to challenge the ruling of the chair.
Okay. As the Honourable Ed Fast would know, that the chair, the ruling is not debatable, and so shall the challenge be sustained? Mr. Clerk, if you will poll the members.
The question is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? Mr. Baker?
In favor.
Mr. Beach?
Yes.
Madame Châtel?
Oui.
Ms. Derowitz?
In favor.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Overturn.
Mr. Fast?
No.
Mr. Albus?
Opposed?
Mr. Stewart?
Overturn.
Mr. Sainte-Marie?
Non.
Mr. Blakey?
No.
Yeas pour 5, 5. Nays contre 6, 6.
Okay, so the ruling is overturned. And now, members, if members want to speak to.
Oui, moi j'ai la main levée.
I have my hand raised, Mr. Chair.
MP Sainte-Marie.
Oui. Bon, j'aimerais m'exprimer.
Yes, I'd like to express myself on the amendment proposed by Mr. Chambers. First, I'd like to congratulate him on his involvement, on his contribution to this committee. It's a real pleasure to work with him. I think it's a very interesting idea, but I have 2 problems I'd like to raise. I'd like to hear his response to these 2 elements. So what would have me vote against the amendment? I want us to debate it and vote on it, but I have 2 hesitations which would make me vote against. First, when it was a matter of discussing this tax, Conservative Party colleagues were concerned about what would happen if our American neighbors put in place the same type of law. So there were hesitations expressed. What I'd like to say is if during 2 years the United States had the same type of law, it would mean, well, we have a lot of snowbirds in each of our ridings, and it would mean they wouldn't be able to buy properties in the United States. And I can already see people coming to my riding office. A lot of people would not be pleased. So that's one argument that would have me voting against it. And the second, I agree with the idea in general, but what about exceptions? For example, if a property owner in Canada wants to sell a residence to his or her children who are neither citizens nor residents and don't live in Canada, and so then they couldn't make that transaction for 2 years, what would happen then? So these are issues that raise doubts for me and would lead me to voting against the amendment, even though, once again, I would say I appreciate the general spirit of it. Thank you.
Merci, MP Samari. I have MP Beach, then MP Baker up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to my colleagues for bringing in this amendment. In principle, I mean, the general scope of the amendment is very similar to something we campaigned on actually in the last election on the Liberal side of the platform. So in principle, the notional idea of the amendment is pretty good. There definitely is concerns around whether or not this reflects the full scope of challenges that we might have in enforcing these measures and making sure that these measures are effective, which certainly makes me believe that it would be better to have this in a separate piece of legislation than particularly tacking this on to C8. There's several examples of this. One example that I can think of off the top of my head is that this amendment would apply to individuals, but not necessarily entities that individuals could control. I'm sure that there's others as well, and I'd certainly want to give more time to it and probably more thoughts to a more complete, holistic approach to implementing this and making sure that it was effective. But in general, off the top of my head, I mean, it is trying to accomplish something that I think we want to look at too.
Thank you, MP Beach. I do have MP Baker, the MP Fast, and then MP Zerowitz, the MP Chattel. MP Baker.
Oh, thanks very much, Chair. So, I mean, we've looked at this issue to a great extent in our committee, having heard from a number of economists and experts as we've looked at inflation and specifically the rise in the price of housing. And I think what we've heard from folks is that largely this is a sort of a supply side problem, but that there is definitely this aspect of non-residents, non-Canadians, non-permanent residents, et cetera, buying property largely as an investment. And I think, my colleagues from all sides have heard me speak to this issue in the committee and as part of those discussions, and I'm very much in favor of something like this in principle. I think I just want to be sure that usually when we craft legislation around things like this, we want to make sure that there's that every scenario is thought through. So, Mr. Saint-Marie a soulevé des questions.
Mr. Saint-Marie raised issues. I'm not saying I agree with all of his questions, but I agree that we need to think about those things.
Important that we also consider, what regulations need to be in place to enforce this. Are there some sort of exceptions? It's something that needs to be thought through carefully. So I just want to make sure we're careful about how we proceed on this. But in principle, I'm supportive of the concept. Of course, I just think that Canadians, the right of a Canadian to get access to a home, certainly should come ahead of the right of someone who's not living in Canada, not contributing to invest in our housing market.
Thank you, MP Baker. MP Fast.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm pleased to hear that there's at least some support in principle here around the table for our amendment. I note that at least two parties ran on this, included it in their platforms, so clearly there's some merit to this because two parties have reviewed this closely. In fact, our amendment directly tracks what we included in our platform. Secondly, to Mr. Saint-Marie's point, I would note that this applies only to residential property as defined in the Underused Housing Tax Act. So this is very, very narrowly construed. This is not in any way focused on snowbirds. Snowbirds are coming up here for vacation properties, And if in fact snowbirds are buying residential property and depriving Canadians of the right to purchase or live in their own home, that is a problem anyways. But the word snowbirds implies vacation properties, and those are not captured by this legislation. And finally, I would just say that this tool is not in any way replacing the underused housing tax that the government has brought forward. This is simply adding another tool to the toolkit. It's enhancing the tools that the government has available to address what is arguably the most serious affordability crisis this government has on its hands.
Thank you, MP Fast. MP Zerowitz, and then MP Chattel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the honourable member for suggesting this amendment. I very much also support the concept that is behind this. I think my hesitation is just whenever we make these types of amendments, in clause by clause, there isn't a chance for careful consideration or asking some officials what might be some of the unintended consequences. And so just a couple of come to mind. If a family, and we do know that there are American families that do own property and have for years and years and years on the Canadian side, they might even have within the family 100 years a home. And because the home has been there for, a vacation home's been there for such a long time, because we have urbanized, it might start falling within the narrowly defined sort of realm of or definition that Mr. Fast had talked about. And so if they need to say there's a death in the owner of the family and it wants to transfer directly to a child, but they can't, and they have to technically do some sort of a sale and a purchase, that could be one of the technicalities. So again, if you look at it from a concept perspective, non-citizens, non-foreign residents purchasing residential property, you absolutely want to do that. But I'm worried about some of the unintended consequences. I too also share the concerns of my Bloc Québécois colleague who said, you know, I'd be worried if we put in this type of a rule, whether the U.S. would do corresponding the same type of a rule over on their side, and whether or not this is the best way of going about protecting the sort of the residential properties that we have. So I just think it requires further discussion, and I'd want to know whether or not there was, you know, what the unintended consequences might be. And so I think we should be a little cautious about adopting this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MP Zerowitz. We're moving to MP Chattel and then MP Albus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Listen, as my colleague Mr. Saint-Marie said a little earlier, I'm also concerned about the precedent this could set in regards to our trade partners. These same provisions could apply to Canadians who decide to purchase a property, whether in France or the United States, England. So I'm not against provisions that would make it more expensive for people who want to use residential properties to avoid speculation, because that's really the goal. That's what we want to limit. We don't want foreign property buyers to speculate on real estate. But to have a total ban on purchases without having fully studied the consequences, because we don't know all of the scenarios. I can think of one scenario that could come up. Think, for example, of an American neighbor or a French resident who has children who want to come study in Canada, for example. And in thinking of this, they buy a property so their children can come study. Would we prohibit that purchase? Or do we have to wait until those people become residents and live here before they can buy something, which is a little inconsistent? There would be technical difficulties that would be substantial. So how would we apply this? And with our international agreements, with our partners, this would be discrimination based on the fact that someone is a non-Canadian resident. Would we be going against some international agreements? Have there been consultations with our partners, our international partners? Are we prepared for reciprocal measures? Would this be justifiable to our Canadians who want to buy a property for their retirement and have the opportunity to buy a property in Florida, but then they're told, no, there's been discrimination against Americans, so Americans will discriminate against Canadians, will prevent the purchase by Canadians who want to buy a property for their retirement or for travel. So there are a lot of technical problems. I wouldn't want this to be profitable for someone who decides just to speculate and buy a residential property, but we really need to be careful when we talk about prohibiting. Even if it's just for 2 years, it could hurt. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Merci, MP Chattel. And now we're moving to MP Albus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone. I would just like to point out a few things. First of all, this is a pause, not a ban. So this would be 2 years from when the Act comes into force. This would allow for studies to be done. And we do know, because the government has put forward measures on its own saying that they want to tap down demand. This will be a demand side as well, because there will not be people bidding. Second thing, I would say this applies equally and it's responding to a case of market conditions here in Canada. So, for example, we're part of the CPTPP, and New Zealand has banned foreign ownership of real estate based on their own domestic issues. It applies equally to everyone, and there's not been a challenge under the CPTPP. So what I would simply suggest is that we can rest assured that that other partners, and again, if the Americans or the French wish to put in place their own restrictions based on their own market distortions or market functions, that's fine. Let's just bear in mind that we've seen house prices go up by 97% since 2015. That was put out in a PBO report recently. And so I think we need to really start looking into this. Parties have agreed in principle, then let's put this into place. Nothing stops someone from gifting their property or allowing the use of a property that currently is owned by a resident in here. It's just they would not be able to transact it for those 2 years. And lastly, if there are clarifications or exemptions, this act only comes into effect when the government says it comes into effect. So why would we not then use that time? And if there are exemptions that need to be made, the government can simply put that in place in a future bill. The government controls the timing on this. We've all run on campaigns on this very pledge. I believe that when we're given the opportunity, we should take the opportunity to fulfill our election promises. So I can understand that there are some questions from some members, but again, the government has the ability to time this and to amend the act in an upcoming budget bill if there are any issues that may arise. So let's just vote in favor of this. It's something we've all, I should say not all, but many parties have committed to. And again, this is to deal with the domestic case where again, it would apply equally to everyone. And I don't think any of our trading partners would hold that against us. And I do think there's, if they want to put in place their own policies, that's their sovereign interest to do so. Thank you.
And thank you, MP Albus. I do see a hand up. MP Blakey.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to provide a few thoughts for the record. This is something that I'm generally supportive of. I think we've heard some reasons why the ban may not be quite as complete as one might think on a first read, including the fact that it invokes the definition proposed in the Underused Housing Tax Act itself, which folks who've been following the meeting will know I've been supporting the elements of that tax on clause by clause. I'm doing that because I think it's a step in the right direction, even though I think that the tax is not ultimately going to be adequate to the tax to the task. Partly because I think there are a lot of loopholes, and some of those have to do with this very definition. So, I mean, I do think that this is another step in the right direction. There's no one silver bullet that's going to cure the problems of the housing market, but there has been a lot of talk about the role of foreign buyers in the Canadian housing market. I think this would at least create a window to see, with a relatively light definition of what a foreign purchase would be there, given that we're using the definition in the Act here. It would give us an opportunity to see if putting a hold on some of the activity does have a meaningful effect on prices in the housing market. And as has been said in many ways by many folks on all sides of the aisle, this is something that there is support in principle for. I have to say, one of my frustrations over the last 6.5 years has been the slow pace at which the Liberal government undertakes to meet its own commitments. And I am pretty committed to trying to push for swifter action on certain things. I think we need to move on some things to get information about what policies are going to work and what aren't. So I'm prepared to move ahead with this amendment today because I think it's a push in the right direction that the government clearly needs in order to get moving on some of its own stated commitments. And if folks on the government side think that it needs to be done in another way, I would urge them to look at this and other platform commitments on housing, like banning blind bidding and other things that they've talked about, but they haven't moved on. If they think they know how to move on these things better, as Mr. Albus just said, I mean, they control the timing on all these things. So these are things for them to prepare and then to bring to Parliament in a more timely way. And where the government doesn't, I think it's appropriate for parliamentarians to push. And this is an example of that kind of appropriate pushing. And it's why I'm happy to support this one. Slightly different situation than in the case of Mr. Saint-Marie's amendment, where I was happy to support his ability to motivate that amendment and to have a debate on that amendment, although I do have some concerns about the substance of that amendment and would not have been voting in favor of it today. I was happy to sustain the challenge. So I see Mr. Saint-Marie, in this case, the shoe is on the other foot, but perhaps the debate around this amendment will have convinced him to support it after all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, MP Blakey. I'm just scanning the room here, or the screen. I do see a hand up. MP Saint-Marie.
Oui, donc,
Yes, thank you. That's a very interesting debate, certainly. I had given 2 examples indicating that I had some hesitations about the amendment, so I'd like to thank each person in this debate. It's very much appreciated. Regarding the issue of if we put in place a law, of course, I understand that our neighboring countries won't automatically and immediately put in a reciprocal law. But from my point of view, when we put such legislation in place, we'd have to be ready to accept that our partners would serve up the same medicine for us. Mr. Fast specified that the context of this 2-year period is in the context of the definition of the Act. So if we come back to the snowbird example, and we suppose that our American neighbors adopted a similar law, it would be that 4-week issue. So I have been convinced that with this example, for the snowbirds, one of the two elements that I raised. However, for the parent-child relationship, if parents want to sell a residence to their children, I haven't yet been convinced. Ms. Châtel raised a good example, I find, of children who might want to come study here. So a problem remains there for me. And I'd like to ask the legislative clerks, what would be their knowledge of the implication of the adoption of such an amendment with international agreements that we may have? So Ms. Châtel raised that doubt. If I've understood correctly, it could go against certain international agreements. So I'd like to ask the legislative clerk's opinion on that. And I would invite my colleagues to convince me regarding the matter of parent-child relationships for the sale of residences. Thank you.
Merci, MP Sainte-Marie. And I did look over to the legislative clerks. They feel it's best answered, maybe answered, by some of the officials that we have with us here today. So if one of the officials has some information that they can share.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can attempt to answer that question. And
Thank you.
I'm not sure it will be a satisfying answer, but we're here from the tax policy branch at the Department of Finance, and I think the issue at hand here is it's not so much a tax; it's a total ban or prohibition. A tax is something you use to raise revenues. You would use something else to affect that ban or prohibition. So I don't think I could speak to. I'm not qualified to speak to what the international implications of that would be. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. No other officials? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the international agreement. I just want to point out some, I do legislation. So I just want to point out that this amendment only applies to individual. So it doesn't apply to corporation. And I want just to point out also that it's a prohibition, but usually a prohibition comes with a consequence. There's no consequence here. So it's not clear of the effectiveness of the amendment as drafted. Thank you.
Merci. Any other officials? Okay, seeing none. I do have still speaking order. I have MP Châtel. MP Fast, did you? Okay, MP Châtel.
Oui, merci.
Thank you, and thank you to the officials for confirming that it's not clear that this prohibition would be effective and would have results. And it could be circumvented in other ways. But the message we would be sending to our trade partners is that we're putting in place a ban on the purchase of residential properties for their residents. And when they decide to reciprocate, two things. First, it's not clear that they would limit it to 2 years. And second, it's not clear that they would limit this to underused housing. They could go much broader. So I'm very concerned about the message we would be sending, especially without studying our international agreements and non-discrimination agreements with the United States and the Europeans. Thank you.
Merci, MP Châtel. MP Fast.
Mr. Chair, I'm sensing that there is this general agreement that the idea of implementing a temporary prohibition is a good thing. My colleague, Mr. Albus, has noted this is a 2-year prohibition. Quite frankly, if one of our trade partners were to challenge, it would take well over 2 years to actually complete a challenge. And it's unlikely that a provision like this, which is intended to provide a temporary respite from foreign buyers, would actually be challenged. I think I'm probably the only one around this table that has any trade experience. So I'm not claiming to be an expert, but having an understanding of challenges at the World Trade Organization, I think I can safely say that the scope of this amendment is so narrow and so circumscribed that it would not generate any challenges, and I think would send just that clear message that we are placing Canadian buyers of residential real estate first. They come first, and then anybody else who wants to join can come later. But right now, we have to focus on Canadians themselves. So I would encourage you, colleagues, support this. I note that this would go back at report stage. The government can actually take this from committee, can review this with officials to make sure that it passes muster and that it will do what it claims to do. And if an amendment is required, if the government wants to take this out, it can do so at report stage with the Speaker's consent. So there is a mechanism for us to move this forward and then have the House address it. So I would encourage you to allow that to happen.
Here, here.
Thank you, MP Fast. I do have MP Chambers' hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the discussion, willingness to debate this amendment. I appreciate it very much. For my bloc colleague, Mr. Saint-Marie, I did hear one of the officials indicate that this did not apply to corporations. I suspect in the example that you provided, there may be some planning opportunities for individuals if they're looking to provide or transfer housing to their children. I would stress once again the importance of the temporariness of this measure, that it is time limited, that it does sunset, and 2 years is in many cases a fairly short time frame to just give us a little bit more time. And with respect to some of the concerns about international trade, I certainly appreciate those concerns. Wondering why we're more worried about the international trade effects on a temporary measure as opposed to some of the concerns we had raised about a permanent tax with the original clause of the bill. And so given that it is temporary, and we have not seen reciprocal arrangements from some of our other trading partners, including New Zealand, as my colleague mentioned, I do think a 2 year is a reasonable time, and it certainly is not permanent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Chambers. Again, I see no further hands. So shall CPC 1 carry? Clerk?
CPC 1, Mr. Baker.
Opposed.
Mr. Beach.
No.
Madame Châtel.
No.
Ms. Zerowitz.
No.
Mr. McDonald.
No.
Mr. Chambers.
Carry.
Mr. Fast.
Yes.
Mr. Albus.
Support.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Saint-Marie.
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 6, nays contre. No, sorry, the other way around.
Can you give that to me again, Clerk?
Yeah, sorry, my apologies. Yeas pour 5, nays contre 6.
Merci, it's defeated. Shall clause 41 carry? On division?
Avec dissidence.
Clerk? Yeah. Shall clause 42 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Shall clause 43 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
On division? Shall clause 44 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Division. So now we're at clause 45, and we have NDP 1 and MP Blakey. Would you like to move this amendment?
Yes, thank you very much. I will so move, Mr. Chair. And I guess really the point of this amendment is just there are some large spending authorities in this bill. And we have heard from the parliamentary budget officer that the government has been late tabling its public accounts. And I think it's reasonable for Canadians to expect some kind of regular reporting on how the money is being spent as it goes out the door, rather than having to wait up to 18 months to see that recorded in the public accounts. And so this is just a simple amendment to require the government to report quarterly on how that money is being spent over the course of the next year.
Thank you, MP Blakey. I do see some hands up. MP Beach and then MP Samari.
So speaking specifically to this amendment, I just want to step back and take a second to thank MP Blakey for his package of amendments. I thought they were quite good, and looking forward to discussing them all. With regards to this, in general, we are entirely in favor of more transparency, openness, and reporting. There are some operational challenges that we're concerned about with regards to actually getting this data from the provinces and the strains that it would put on their standard reporting systems. We do have a commitment, of course, to do this annually, but at this time, we have some challenges with the strain that this would put on individual provinces and territories.
Thank you, MP Beach. I've got MP Samari.
Oui, merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the same spirit, this amendment would mean that the provinces would have to be accountable to the department so they can prepare an update. And given the chronic underfunding of the provinces for the healthcare system, and the fact that from our point of view, from my point of view, the provinces don't have to account for healthcare spending to the federal government, I'm against this.
Merci, MP Samari. I see MP Blakey's hand up.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Question-là.
On this question, in my opinion, it's not a matter of the provinces and territories owing a report to the federal government. Rather, the federal government has a duty to Parliament, owes a report to Parliament, because this Parliament allows the government to make expenses for specific reasons, and I think it's reasonable for the federal government to provide assurances to Parliament that expenses authorized for specific reasons were spent for those specific reasons. I think Mr. Saint-Marie knows that I and the NDP support the idea of increasing healthcare transfers to the provinces without condition as well. But here we have spending proposed for a specific reason, a reason that I personally support, the NDP supports, and I think it makes sense that we would have a report that ensures that that money is being used for the reasons set out in the bill. I am open to an idea to change the wording a bit, if that helps. If we had wording that said,
Setting out how the province and territories, intend to spend the money. I recognize that, there are reporting processes at the provincial level, and until those are completed, it may be difficult for the federal government to report with authority on how the money was actually spent. But presumably, the federal government is going to have a conversation with the provinces before this money flows. Presumably, in that conversation, they're going to say that this money is for the specific purpose of either purchasing COVID tests or whatever the other purpose happens to be under this legislation for the spending authorities. And the federal government is going to release those funds satisfied that it has at least some basic understanding of how that money is going to be used for the purposes for which Parliament authorized it. So that's the tree I'm barking up. I'm happy to modify the language a little bit, but I mean, it's unthinkable to me that money that is approved for a very specific purpose that the federal government would release to the province without any conversation at all about what the province largely intends to do with it. It also flies in the face of some more informal reporting that the government has been doing on its own website about how this money has been flowing. So this is just a way of formalizing it. That's something that I believe is important. I think it's important for at least two reasons. One is that it recognizes the appropriate role of Parliament and the accountability of the government to Parliament in respect of spending. And the second part is that it also formalizes and adds to the official record that reporting. And so while it's all well and good for government to offer additional reporting on its website, and I know that has from time to time been invoked by government members for various things having to do with financial reporting over the years that I've been here. The fact of the matter is, and we have seen this in certain cases, what is voluntarily reported can be taken down. It can be taken down overnight. We saw this on reporting about the wage subsidy, for instance, where the government used to, at one time, would provide names of publicly traded entities that were receiving wage subsidy funds. There was quite a good report done on that by the Globe and Mail. And lo and behold, either in the middle of that investigative process or shortly after the publication of that article, all of that information came down from the internet. So, I mean, I just think that I really do believe in this reporting, and I therefore believe that it shouldn't just be voluntary. I think that it's something that the government should be required to do, and I think that it should be recorded in a place like the official record of the House of Commons, so that those are not numbers and that is not information that can simply disappear at the will of the government. And so that's why I think it's important to record these things. And I'm not saying this because I think that any member of this committee feels otherwise. I'm just explaining my own reasons for why I think that's important. And so to Monsieur Saint-Mary's point, I don't think this is the place to raise unconditional transfers to the provinces. I think that needs to happen, and I think it needs to happen at the appropriate tables. Here we're talking about money that is spent for very specific purposes having to do with the pandemic, and I think the federal government at the very least should be reporting back to the House of Commons on whether it thinks it has accomplished those objectives or not. And that's what's at stake in this amendment.
Well, thank you, MP Blakey. We do still have further debate. I see MP Albus's hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to thank Mr. Blakey for his intervention. His arguments around accountability, I think, are very strong. And I just want to raise a point that we've been seeing bill after bill now in this Parliament where the government is bypassing the usual estimates process and instead using legislation to make these payments. And I don't think necessarily that's a good process. And so if the government is going to move outside of the supply, the typical supply process where they're putting in the mains or putting it into the subs, that we should be asking for more accountability for the government. It does seem to me either they didn't anticipate this spending, and that starts to raise questions about whether or not they have a firm plan in place as to where this will go, or they're doing this for political reasons. So Mr. Blakey, I think, has raised a number of arguments, and so I'm willing to support him on this.
Thank you, MP Albus. Just again scanning the room, looking at the screen. I don't see any hands up. So shall NDP 1 carry?
Yes. Moi, je vais demander le vote.
A recorded division, please.
Recorded division, clerk.
Mr. Baker.
Opposed.
Mr. Beach.
No.
Madame Châtel.
No.
Ms. Derowitz.
No.
Mr. McDonald.
No.
Mr. Chambers.
Oui.
Mr. Fast.
Yes.
Mr. Albus.
Yes.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes.
Monsieur Saint-Mary.
Contre.
Mr. Blakey.
Yes.
Yeas pour 5, 5, nays contre.
Defeated?
6.
Defeated. So shall, moving to 45, shall clause 45 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Okay, clause 46 is NDP 2. And Mr. Blakey, on your amendment.
Thank you very much. I will move this amendment. I think you'll find this amendment does not have a reference to the provinces, so perhaps it'll be more palatable to certain members of the committee for whom that's a concern. It simply asks that the federal government, for money that is specifically for the purpose of buying rapid tests, regularly report on the number of tests purchased and how they were distributed. We know that some of this money, in the way that it's characterized, or in the way that its purpose is characterized under the legislation, will not simply be distributed to provinces and territories. There are areas where the federal government has some responsibility, whether that's within the context of the Canadian Armed Forces, or whether that's in the provision of health services on reserve. There are areas where the federal government will also be making some of these purchases directly. And in those cases, as well as in the cases where it's transferring money to provinces and territories for a specific purpose, I think it's reasonable that that the federal government would be reporting to the House of Commons on how that money is spent. As a colleague of mine on the committee rightly pointed out, I mean, normally we would interrogate some of this expenditure through the normal estimates process, and instead we're authorizing it through legislation. And we're doing that in a context where the Parliamentary Budget Officer has said that the government has been slow to publish its public accounts in the pandemic context. And so I think if we're going to have a sense of whether this money is being spent properly in time to be able to raise questions about it and maybe have a positive impact, then there has to be some kind of reporting. And so again, this is why I think it makes sense for us to try and introduce some of that into the legislation that provides authority for the spending. And it's why I've suggested this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Blakey. I do see a couple of hands up. I've got MP Beach and MP Sainte-Marie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In general, quite supportive of this amendment. I did circulate or attempt to circulate a what I hope is going to be a friendly amendment, and I'll speak to what that is. But however, I think I referred to the because NDP 2 and NDP 3 are close. What I think I did is I think I referred to C10 in my sub amendment. But I will read this in, and hopefully it'll be considered.
I'm just interject, MP Beach, just before you say, I just spoke to the clerk. The French version is not exactly the same as the English version, and I'll look to the legislative clerk if you can help just where the
where the problem
where the problem is, just before you read that in.
Okay, perfect. What we received, the English version is not the same as the French version. As I understand, the English version seeks to modify NDP 3, and the French.
So that's the part I was just speaking to. I want to actually do it to C8, so it's to NDP 2, actually. They're just similar.
It's NDP 2. It means that the English version is not the correct version.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I can read this in, and I think you'll see that it'll be easily fixed. Okay, so let me proceed. Can I proceed, Mr. Chair?
MP Beach, so we have it only circulated in?
I only have it in French.
In French. So to circulate the English version, we would just need that change made.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to read it in.
Okay, we'll read it in.
Type and talk at the same time.
Okay, that's right. MP Beach?
So there's two amendments, and I'm hoping that they're both going to be friendly. The first would be in the first sentence where it says COVID-19 comes into force, and every 3 months after that, I would add the words, should any payments be made under the Act during that period. This allows there to be kind of effectively a sunset clause, so that there's no needless reporting if there are no payments made. The second part is immediately following this, which says the Minister of Health must prepare a report setting out, and it's a small addition, and the addition is this: the total amount of payments. So the initial motion says a report setting out the payments made under the Act, but this clarification would say under the total amount of payments under the Act. And the reason for that amendment is so that it's for competitive reasons. As we acquire rapid tests, they would be acquired by different companies, and knowing the individual breakdowns of what tests would be acquired at what price would actually hurt us competitively while we were negotiating to acquire these. And there's some companies that may not wish to participate if the per unit cost of their unit is known. So I'm hoping that this stays in the same intent as the mover's motion, and I'm hoping it can be adopted as a friendly amendment.
Thank you, MP Beach. I am just going to look at the legislative clerk for some clarification on what you just entered into the record as your amendment. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. B, just to make sure that I understand what you want to add to the NDP2, and you have page 4 of the package of amendments. Because you just said that you want to add some words after the words COVID-19, but in the NDP2, you don't have this word COVID-19. There is no COVID-19 in NDP2. I think if you can refer to page 4 of the package, and if you could read.
Hang on a second. I'm
okay.
just getting there. So maybe I could ask this. We are at an hour and a half of a 3-hour meeting. If I could just ask for the 5-minute suspension, which we normally have, to have a quick bathroom break and the like, I'll draft it appropriately. We can get it circulated, and I think that'll make it much quicker, and everybody can have a quick washroom break at the same time.
I think that's a good idea. So we'll suspend for 5 minutes.
Sure. Understood that we're suspended, Mr. Chair. I mean, one way to sort this might be
Members, I do want to let members know, just heard from the interpreters, if members could keep their phones, their devices on silent, just because the dinging, when it goes off, when phones ding, it does affect the interpreters with their work. I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much, members. And now on Mr. Beach, you now are going to be moving your sub-amendment, and that is Legislative Clerk.
Yes.
We will move with that. That will be the process?
Yeah, with the copy we
With the
just
copy that has been circulated to everyone. So hopefully everybody has the same copy. So MP Beach. You're on silent, MP Beach.
Thank you. So sorry for the delay, but the nice part of this delay is that we were able to make my sub-amendment even more efficient through some chat that happened after we were suspended with MP Blakey. So the amendment changes, starting with the Minister of Health must prepare a report setting out the number of payments made under subsection 1, and the addition there would be number of payments. And then immediately following that, made under subsection 1, and then this addition, should any payments be made under the Act during the period. And this speaks to the 2 comments that I made regarding this amendment prior to the break, and I'm hoping that these will be taken as friendly.
Okay, MP Blakey, not sure if...
Yeah, those changes are acceptable to me. So I'm prepared to accept them if there's no objection from any other committee member to changing the wording of the motion. I'm happy to accept those.
Okay, so I'm just looking to see if there's any more discussion. Yes, MP Fast.
Yeah, I would just ask for clarification of Mr. Beach. He has included the words, the number of payments made. Mr. Beach, are you referring to the actual amount of payments? How would we actually know what the amount of payments were if you're just referring to the number of payments made? You could say a payment was made to that province and that province and that province, and the fourth one got, say, 3 payments. But we'll never know exactly how large those payments were, at least on a quarterly basis. So perhaps some clarification as to what was intended.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, number of and total, I guess, could correct that. I mean, the major concern that we have is making sure that the individual, there's no way for individuals to figure out which individual companies are what their per unit basis is. So as long as we're qualifying that, I think everything else is fair game. So we could add total amount to that. I think it would be fine, if that provides clarity to you. But the intention is what you stated, Mr. Fast.
MP Fast?
Yeah, so the way that would then read, it would say, prepare a report setting out the number and amount of payments made under subsection 1. Am I correct?
As long as it was, so just one small correction, it would be total amount, because we wouldn't want it to be confused with individual amounts.
I'll look to the legislative clerk. Yes, if you could just, for clarity.
Yeah, just to clarify, the setting out the total amount of number, or just want to clarify to where do we put the...
I think it would be the number of and total amount of payments made under subsection 1.
Number of total amount.
The number of and total amount of payments made under subsection 1.
Total amount of payment. Let me read this back for the committee, please. We will say The Minister of Health must prepare a report setting out the number of and total amount of payment made under subsection 1.
Yeah. Is that all right with Mr. Blake? Because it's his amendment.
Friendly amendment.
I mean, this may just be a kind of aesthetic preference, but I wonder if we might say, prepare a report sending out the number of payments made and the total amount paid under subsection 1.
Also acceptable.
Okay. So we'll just make sure we capture that.
Yeah, okay.
Do you need to repeat it?
I
Yeah,
can
if we can
repeat
have that
that if you like.
repeated, MP Blakey,
Yeah,
yes?
yeah, repeat it slowly, please.
So it would be setting out the number of payments made and the total amount paid under subsection 1.
Okay. And just to make sure that you number of payments, an S or no S? An S, eh?
With an S.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Perfect. And payments. Okay. Payments and the total of amount paid.
Yeah, so it would be a report setting out the number of payments made and the total amount paid under subsection 1.
Paid. Okay.
The fact that it rhymes is just a little bonus. I can't take credit for having planned that out.
Nice. Okay. So
I don't know if you can make it rhyme in the French as well for Mr. Saint-Marie, but I'm sure we would all be impressed if that were possible.
I'm looking around. I don't see any further discussion. So shall we call the vote here on this sub-amendment?
Agreed.
Yeah. Clerk? Any opposition? Yeah, okay. I think everybody's in agreement. Excellent. Now we will, now on the amendment, shall NDP 2 carry? As amended.
Oui.
Wait.
Okay, I see everybody's in agreement. Carried. Okay, moving forward, shall clause 46 carry? As amended.
Silence.
On division.
On division. And now we have new clause 46 1.
Mr. Chair, in respect of this amendment, NDP 3, I think given our advice on the admissibility of the amendment and the discussion around NDP 1, I won't move this amendment.
Okay. Thank you, MP Blakey. So now we are moving to, let's see, we're at 47, yes. Shall clause 47 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Mr. Chair,
MP Blakey?
I wonder, my understanding is that there aren't any other amendments foreseen. I wonder if we might have unanimous consent to carry the other clauses of the bill on division.
Members, that will take us from clause 47 and 48.
No.
On division? No. There is
On
not.
division, did you say?
There is not UC. No, for unanimous consent, there is. I heard a no. Yes. So we are at still back to we were on clause 47.
48.
48. Shall clause 48 carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Division. Shall the short title carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Division. Shall the title carry?
Avec dissidence.
On division.
Division. Shall the bill as amended carry?
Recorded vote.
Recorded vote. Clerk?
The vote is on the bill as amended. Mr. Baker?
In favor.
Mr. Beach?
In favor.
Madame Châtel?
Oui.
Ms. Zerowitz?
Oui.
Mr. McDonald?
In favor.
Mr. Chambers? Mr. Chambers?
No. No.
Okay. Mr. Fast?
No.
Mr. Albus?
Opposed?
Mr. Stewart?
No.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie?
Oui.
Mr. Blakey?
Wait.
Was that a yes? Yes, okay. Yeas pour 7, 7. Nays contre 4, 4.
Carried. Shall the chair report the bill as amended to the House?
Ordered vote.
Clerk?
Mr. Baker?
In favor.
Mr. Beach?
Yes.
Madame Châtel?
Oui.
Miss Zerowitz?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
No.
Mr. Fast?
No.
Mr. Albus?
Opposed?
Stewart?
No.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie?
En faveur.
Mr. Blakey?
Oh, yes.
Yeas pour 7, 7. Nays contre 4, 4.
Carried. And shall the committee order a reprint of the bill as amended for the use of the House at report stage?
Recorded vote.
Recorded vote, clerk.
Recorded vote for a reprint. Mr. Baker?
In favor.
Mr. Beach?
Yes.
Madame Châtel?
Oui.
Miss Zerowitz?
Oui.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
No. For the environment.
Pulp and
Fast.
paper mills. No.
Mr. Albus?
Opposed?
Mr. Stewart?
No.
Monsieur Sainte-Marie?
Oui, en faveur.
Mr. Blakey?
Yes.
Yeas pour 7, 7. Nays contre 4, 4.
Carried. Thank you, clerk, and thank you, members. And this concludes our session. And thank you for all the discussion. That was great. So we'll bring the report to the House. And on that, I'm looking around. Members, shall we adjourn?
Adjourn.
Okay. We're adjourned.